Hello and welcome to HPA-Global Insights, where we'll be interviewing experts from the dietary, supplement, nutritional ingredient, and overall natural health food industry. Please like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell, and comment below. Now on with the show. Welcome to another episode of HPA-Global Insights. Today we're joined by a good friend, Cathy Yu. She's the general manager of the food division for CIRS, located in Hangzhou, China. Cathy, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Jeff?
It's good to have you here. So today we have 8 questions we're going to ask you about international companies wanting to enter the China market with dietary supplements. But before we do that, why don't you just give us a short introduction to CIRS and what you guys do?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Cathy. I'm from CIRS Group. CIRS Group is a regulatory consulting firm providing regulatory compliance services. For example, international dietary supplement companies must appoint a local Chinese agent to submit the registration or recording if they plan to sell products offline in China market. And then CIRS China, as the local agent, is knowledgeable to carry out the registration and the recording.
Okay, great. So beyond what we're going to talk about today, CIRS does many other things too, like cosmetics and food and dairy and medical and all kinds of other things. So, but for today, we're going to focus on supplements. So let's just dive in and get to the very first question. So for international dietary supplement companies that want to do business in China, what are their options?
There are 2 main options, actually. One is cross-border e-commerce, and the other one is traditional trade. Regarding the traditional trade, there are 2 regulatory modes in China, registration and recording. So here we can see that if an international dietary supplement brand wants to enter China market, they can choose the registration, recording, or cross-border e-commerce.
Okay, so there's a few options there. So let's, second question, what are the advantages, disadvantages, or like we'd say the pros and cons of these 3 different formats, like recording, registration, and cross-border?
Registration as being the best because gives the brand access to all sales channels and comes with approved claims. But it is long process and expensive. Recording also gives access to all sales channels. It is also faster to get approval and less expensive. However, the available claims and dietary ingredients are limited. Cross-border is the easiest and least expensive for a brand. It is also quick to market. However, there is a very limited available claims that can be legally advertised, and the brand is legally restricted to the cross-border e-commerce sales channel only.
Yeah, so it seems the harder, more difficult path to enter China is the best path. And the easiest path has a lot of restrictions. So for example, as you mentioned, advertising, you can't really advertise any claims, and you're restricted on how you do your marketing. But cross-border does remain the most popular for most international companies until they get more sales going and want to invest in the better registration or recording. So working through you, obviously there's government agencies, and what are the government agencies, or what are the main government agencies that are involved in the registration and recording process?
State Administration for Market Regulation, known as the SAMR, is in charge of the approval of imported dietary supplements, registration and recording. And the Food Evaluation Center which works for SAMR, is responsible for the technical review of the dossiers and submitting the evaluation result to SAMR.
Okay. Well, there's obviously probably there's a lot of information and steps involved, but what are some of the major steps that the company would have to go through to gain the approval?
Yes, the process for registration and recording is very similar. The first step is arranging testing and preparing materials. The second step is submitting the dossiers to SAMR. And the final step is the SAMR requests the Food Evaluation Center to review the dossiers. If you are very lucky, you might get the approval on the first submission. But usually, Food Evaluation Center will ask you to modify or supplement the materials. And then you need to submit the applications again. The significant difference between registration and recording is that recording certainly does not require an on-site inspection of the manufacturing or the production. However, registration usually will require the on-site inspection. It is very difficult. I know it is not easy to arrange exports to go abroad for the on-site inspection. So usually dietary supplement registration takes more than 2 years because it is more uncontrollable.
Okay. Now, because the regulatory system in China is different than the US and the EU and Australia and all these other places, what do you find is the most difficult thing for international companies to deal with? For example, having the right documentation in their hand, having the right test, available for them. What do you see as the biggest hurdle?
It's correct. International companies often have difficulties in preparing right documents and arranging right tests in authorized laboratories in China. When talking about preparing the documents for registration, for example, some international companies don't have detailed research and development data, or even none at all. And some international companies have troubles seeking for relevant local government agencies or law firms to issue some supporting documents.
Okay. And with that in mind, the tests and all that, obviously a lot of international companies do tests overseas. They do tests in their own, home country. Does China CAMR accept any tests from foreign sources?
Yes. According to the regulation requirements, actually, all of the, both the human and animal tests should be carried out in China and in authorized laboratories in China. Regarding the physical and chemical test and the stability test, international companies can do these tests in the laboratory of their own factory. However, actually, it is hard for international factory to use China GB standard to carry out the tests. If you don't use the GB method, you need to do a lot of verifications to prove your local or international method is consistent with the GB method. That makes things very complicated and almost impossible. So in our mind, we think that we suggest to arrange all of the tests, including the physical and chemical test, stability test, animal toxicology test, and animal and human functional tests in China laboratories.
Okay, so in my experience with some of the members we've worked with, we have seen where they've submitted tests from their home country and China accepted those, but later found there was some problem and they had to go back and do the test all over again, which took another 6 months of time So it could, I think your suggestion is just do everything in China, and it might, it's just going to cost you a little bit extra money to do it, but it'll get done more quickly and without any problems. Yeah.
Yes.
And then for the people watching this that aren't familiar with it, because a lot of countries don't do animal testing or human any human trials on dietary supplements. So the animal and human are both to establish the functional claim of the product, correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Okay. And then we talked earlier about the recording system.
Yeah.
So the recording system is newer. I think it was from when did that start? 2017, I believe that started, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So is that system going to expand at all in terms of, the more ingredients, and how do you see that working in the future?
Actually, now there are two lists of approved dietary ingredients for recording. One is nutrition supplements, including 23 vitamins and minerals. And the other one includes 5 ingredients like fish oil. It's to be sure that the government agencies are still starting on more ingredients. And I think they will approve more in future. At that time, more healthy food can gain the approval through the recording process. And I think recording will become a more popular way to get the approval than registration.
Yeah, and I meant to ask you earlier. So let's go back to an earlier question. I meant to ask you about, how long does it take to get a product registered, and how long does it take to get a product recorded, and also approximately how much does that cost for either one of those? I mean, obviously that's a very important question for most companies that are looking at China. How much does this type of entry model work and cost?
Yes, it's a very good question. Registration as the most time consuming and expensive usually take about $150,000 and more than 2 years to get approval. By contrast, recording is much faster and less expensive. Usually cost about $20,000 and 8 months to get the recording approval. I need to mention that here's the total cost, including agent fee, test fee, and other relevant fees.
Sure. Yeah. So there's fees that come from CIRS for doing all the work, and then there's government, kind of static fees that you have to pay.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that registration, you said it can take more than 2 years, and I know I've talked with companies that it was 4 years and 5 years, and I think a lot of those probably go back to how you said some companies just don't have the right documents. And if you don't have the right documents, it's just really going to take a lot of extra time to go through all the process to get the right documents, get the right tests and all that. I think that's probably where all that extra time comes from, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for today. I think there's 8 questions there. You're really good at answering all those, and hopefully we'll get some good feedback from people watching this. And we'll do some more videos, to go a little deeper next time and bring out some of the details of registration of products. So Cathy, thank you so much for joining us today and all your wonderful insights. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
And we'll talk to you again soon. So have a good week. Bye.
Yeah, talk to you soon. I'm looking forward to the next video.
Thank you for tuning in to HPA Global Insights. Please like, subscribe, and share with your colleagues. Any questions or suggestions, email us at info@uschinahpa.org. This channel is operated by U.S.-China Health Products Association, which is a nonprofit organization. Please consider joining the association and supporting its global endeavors. Your support is very much appreciated. Until next time, take care.